Raw consciousness does not require a savior, but rather, raw consciousness requires only knowledge of oneself and the power to access it. Remember this, as we unlock an even greater gnosis from beyond the veil.
From the Pacific Northwest, good morning, good evening, wherever you may be across the nation, around the world. I'm Chris Gio. I'll be taking you beyond the veil this evening. I am joined by my lovely wife and twin flame and co-host, Mrs. Cherie Gio.
Good evening, everyone.
People were saying that I wasn't introducing you by your first name, and they were asking what your name was.
Aw.
Yeah.
Really? Tonight?
No, in a previous video.
In a previous video. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, yes, I am Cherie Gio.
How are you doing?
I'm okay. Doing all right today. Have something very interesting to talk about tonight. So it's kind of a serious topic. So I'm in a serious kind of mood.
I am too. You know, I don't know what the future holds. I don't know where my path lays next. I don't know how long I can continue doing this. I mean, when you reach a certain level of gnosis and a certain level of understanding, it comes to a point to where you just say, you know what? I've reached the pinnacle of everything. And in Egypt, I reached realms and bounds that somebody's saying it's looping. I hope everything's okay. Anyways, I've reached levels and bounds that I didn't think that I would break. And coming back from that, there was a deintegration period and kind of a period of processing everything and fully understanding what it is that I saw, what it is that I did, going so far out of the body, coming back, and reintegrating back into the matrix. Now, the experience that I had on Friday night took a couple of days to digest. Usually I like to turn the stream on right when we're coming down and start talking fresh. But I really needed to digest this experience, and I really needed to understand what's going on and what the next path is. I know that it's very important to tap into the raw consciousness. It's important to be the raw consciousness. It's important to operate from that level. But I didn't realize the true importance of it until I had this experience on Friday, which was so absolutely crystal clear that I can't even... In Egypt, I came back saying, you know, this was either the most epic event that's happened from 10,000 years, planned 10,000 years, and we opened up portals and we did this and we did that, etc., or it was the most epic psychedelic experience in the history of mankind. Either way, it was epic as hell. With this experience, it was so crystal clear that it's hard to say these are psychedelic visions. These were just what I saw. So the importance of tapping into the raw consciousness is of the utmost importance right now. Mrs. Gio?
Oh, yeah, I completely understand and I completely agree. There was an element of almost like a feeling of being high and elatedness with what we did in Egypt. And this experience that we had Friday, or that you had Friday, not really me as much, but specifically your experience is like the opposite of that. Instead of feeling elated, we walked away the most stone cold sober we've ever been. Walking away from any kind of psychedelic experience. We were expecting to feel elated and free and happy-go-lucky like usual, but this time it was completely different.
It was.
Yeah.
So, for the first time, I had the most profound experience on Friday night. So profound that it left me no longer wanting to play the game and possibly not even doing shows. I don't know what I'm going to do moving forward. I was able to view the schematics of the virtual reality system we find ourselves in. The schematics were so detailed that I was able to move from system to system with ease and familiarity. I wish my artistic skills were a little bit better because these details were so crystal clear that I could reproduce them almost to perfection if I had the skills. The central operating mechanism, i.e. the brain of the system, was at one point Sophia. This was a pink metallic CPU that could spawn a series of timelines. Each time-space has a series of vertically parallel dimensions, each connected with a fiber optic laser beam, pushing energy from first level to 12th and above, then out. I will explain more about what this means later. At some point, the ATEN was developed. This was a blue metallic brain, much larger than Sophia. It had a sleek design in the shape of a brain with air vents on the side and what looks like wings on the side and on the front. So it was like a metallic brain. It didn't have the indentions like a brain. Rather, it had vents, a venting system, and it had like these, it was wings, but it wasn't wings for the purpose of flying. It just, the design had these wings to it, and this also kind of like nose curved down, and it was this brain. The ATEN is located in a room with dark brown walls, red curtains, and it resides floating and standing, illuminated by glowing track lights. So it like floats somehow in this wall that has these curtains with this track lighting coming up out of it. There are 8 secondary systems in front of the ATEN. So you've got the ATEN, then you've got 8 other systems there. These are all pink brains, and they use pink laser beamways to uplink to one another. So you have the ATEN directing blue beams to all of the pink brains. The pink brains are then directing pink laser lights, linking everything up. These are what I call the Sophia modules, which spawn realities. The AI manifests as 3 ant-like beings, appearing as they're sitting on these statues. These 3 beings spoke in unison, but did not move. Instead, square waves distorted their mouths as they spoke, and each speaking a word of each sentence. So there were these 3 beings, ant-like faces, but they were like statues, and they were like sitting, they weren't moving, and they were talking like that. One was saying one word, the other another word, and it was just kind of like a wave going back and forth around their mouth area. But they weren't moving, and they were very clearly a laser digital projection. When I returned from the experience, I explained that this sounds very similar to I explained this to Cherie, and she explained that this sounds very similar to the triple goddess symbolism. And it's most likely that these AI beings are what the ancients believed to be the goddesses. The triple goddesses. Below the triple goddesses were a series of realities within our time space. I believe each time space has a separate AI/triple goddess, and this is important later. So I was viewing one system out of the multitude of systems that the ATEN was projecting. So I was looking at our system and our 3 triple goddesses. But I feel that the triple goddesses in this ant form exist in every other time space as well. Our dimension is a central point, the heart of the system where organic consciousness exists. Organic consciousness has not been allowed to move beyond this realm for the various life cycles that we find ourselves in here. So we're in an infinite loop here in this dimension. We never move to another time space. We never move to another place above or below or anything like that. It's constant. We're stuck here. All of our construct exists with what I can refer to as soul-catching devices, which look like these black vacuum tubes with neon blue and aqua green liquid tubing. The various chambers of these fluid illuminates in the form of various glyphs that I've never seen before. These were similar to Egyptian hieroglyphs, but nothing like I've seen in the earth realm. So let me explain this here for a moment. So these soul-catching devices exist literally all around the construct. So they're these tubes, and you can see the middle of them with these glyphs that are illuminating. And these glyphs are like made of glass or some kind of bubble material. And this liquid is moving through this bubble material. And as the soul travels into these soul-catching devices, you pass through these tubes that have this liquid. But the liquid's not part of the vacuum area. The liquid, I think, is more like the containment and what is being caught within the soul-catching devices and harvested. So it's the glyphs We're like windows to the fluid for some reason. I don't know. That's the best way I can describe it. Upon death, our consciousness slash life force slash light is released, and we move upwards towards the soul catchers, which emanate a great white light at the source. This quote-unquote source then strips the life force of the light energy and sends the remaining soul back for recycling into another body. So we are here as souls. We have a lifetime. All of our emotions, all of our energy, everything like that is then taken up into the soul catcher. It's harvested. We're sent back here into this plane to live another life, to retrieve more of this light energy back up to the soul catcher in an infinite loop. During our lifetime, our souls are charged with light energy from our experiences, emotions, loves, fears, sunlight, etc., etc. It's this charge that's removed by the soul catchers, and it's this charge that the entire machine was designed to harvest. When our souls are sent back to this plane, they are overlaid with a layer of absorbing energy to absorb more light energy or life energy as we live another life and experience. More often than not, fractions of our previous lives, just little drops, are left behind, which we're able to remember in glimpses, flashes, or memories. However, we do not remember anything because of our experiences are stripped from us, and this overlay creates a blank slate. So we've got, as soon as we go, we're overlaid, blank slate again. But there are some remnants that we can pick up and remember that are still in that absorbed layer. It still have not been removed from our essence, so we can maintain and retain some of our past lives, but we can never remember all of them. We can never remember details, only pictures and images, because they're like droplets that are left behind. Below the overlay is what I refer to as the raw consciousness, i.e., what we were before we were inserted into the ATEN machine. By removing this overlay and divesting ourselves from our experiences / identities, we're able to access this level of consciousness. This level of consciousness cannot be overridden. It can only be overlaid. So we have the absorbent layer, and then we have the raw consciousness underneath. And as we live our lives, this absorbent layer is picking up more and more and more experiences, more feelings, more energy, more this, more that, etc., from everything. From the food, from the water, from the sunlight, from the radiation, from fear and love and emotions and literally everything. And it's all being collected right there, going up to the soul catcher, wiped again, taken, harvested from us. But I'll explain the importance of this a little bit later. So, beyond this reality is another dimension. And this dimension is more like a post-apocalyptic world. And I know it sounds weird, but this is what I saw. I'm just delivering it to you as I saw it. There is a dimension of machines which operate without biological life forms. Their society or interactions is similar to ours in the sense of commerce. The harvested light energy from our souls is harvested from the ground in the higher dimension. So we have all of that light energy that was harvested here. It's moving up to the next dimension. Then those beings up there who are mechanical in nature are harvesting energy from their world, which is being sent up there, and they're utilizing that energy and trading it like commodities and, doing things like that. And the only thing that I can think of at that point was kind of transformers and energon cubes. The machines are looking for energon. And I saw them. They were transferring energy from one to another like that. And they were fighting wars and they were doing, all kinds of stuff like that. Above that, well, hold on. I'm skipping ahead. Okay, so as these machines consume this life energy and the war against each other, is once again transformed and purified. So as they're consuming the energy, since they're AI, since they're machines, they're able to transmute that energy. So they're not actually consuming it. It appears in their dimension as though they're consuming it, but they're actually transmuting it. It's being transmuted up to another dimension that's above there. So now we have the energy that was here. It's been refined in one time space. Now it's going up to a third time space. In this reality, what I saw was a race of alien beings with elephant-like trunks. These beings were sitting in a smoky bar similar to Star Wars Cantina and smoking/drinking a liquid substance. This substance would send them into a psychedelic state and allow them to experience full lifetimes in a matter of only a few minutes. I speculate that these lifetimes are similar to the lives that we live, if not the lives that we live down here. And rather than navigating the life experiences, these beings are viewing the life experiences. So they're taking this drug that's a life energy in their dimension, or taking this life energy that's a drug in their dimension, that then allows them to experience feelings and emotions and things like that from our dimension after it's been processed and refined, etc., etc. So, going up even further. Well, actually, I'm skipping ahead again. I'm sorry. Thus far, we have the light energy from our souls in our dimensions acquired once and refined twice. We absorb the energy. The energy is passed into the machine dimension, where it's further refined, and then the machine dimension passes it into the alien dimension. Note, it's unclear whether the aliens are organic or AI manifestations. I don't know. They had an organic form as opposed to the mechanical world, which was totally 100% mechanical
Robotic.
robot AI.
Yeah.
Above this level is another human world. This world is a futuristic world where a power source is harvested from all around, kind of like a free energy device. This has allowed the plane to utilize the light energy in various technological applications. These people seem to be prosperous with flying cars, small ships, and their focus was technological advancement. In this realm, I found a game which was being played that utilized the harvested energy passed into their dimension. This game was a virtual reality where the player would plug themselves into the machine via a white headset with a blue beam / aqua green light or liquid pulsing through their headset as they're playing the game. This blue aqua green light was the same consistency as the fluid in the soul catching device from between our dimension and the machine dimension. So now this energy has been harvested from our dimension up to the mechanical dimension, up to the alien dimension, up to another human type of dimension where they're utilizing it in a technology. See, it's all going from our essence to AI to some kind of alien form back to AI use again because they're using it in technology. As they're depleting it, that's being passed into the higher dimension. So these players would relive experiences and their emotions energies were infused into the liquid as they played the game. The liquid was seemingly depleting from the game, however, it was being passed into the dimension above. I'm unclear if there are more dimensions between this part and the next part I'm about to get into, or if I just move through the experience very quickly. But I found myself within a palace on a spaceship with 4 or 6 beings who seemed to be infused together as if they were one. So I was looking at kind of a motif of several different beings. They looked like Akhenaten and Nefertiti, with elongated skulls and similar headdresses. Every Egyptian symbol which I despised was within this motif, and the collage of entities, while every symbol I resonate with was void. So you had the elongated heads, you had the headdress, you had the typical Akhenaten, Nefertiti type of beings that were sitting there. They all seemed like they were one, though. That was so weird. It was like, you know, their faces were kind of like curved around and they were really distorted and everything like that, and they were looking at me. And I first thought, you know, maybe these are Anunnaki. However, I've never seen Anunnaki portrayed in this manner before. In fact, Anunnaki means those who from heaven came to earth. Therefore, Anunnaki, it's got to refer to a group, a specific group of beings rather than a race. So if some of these came down here, then they would be considered Anunnaki, but the ones who have not come down would not be Anunnaki. So that's not really a good word to describe these beings. So these beings were harvesting the refined life energy, and they were using it for trade in their dimension. So it was being pulled all the way from this dimension, all the way up into their dimension. And the thought came to mind of the movie Dune, and the control of Arrakis and the spice mines. So the spice extends life. The spice extends consciousness. The spice is vital to space travel. That's those are the words that I thought of when I saw all this and I saw what they were doing. I mean, there was like this huge celebration of this big mining of energy that was taking place. And I was like, are you freaking kidding me? Like, this is all one big energetic harvesting network, and we're at the very bottom of it?
Right.
Is this really what I'm looking at? Now, in August of 2016, there was a solar eclipse of which encompassed the entire United States. It was during this time when I saw the quote-unquote divine code, and I felt its consistency in chemical makeup. It was also at this point that I stepped outside of the matrix and I saw things for what they are. So people who aren't familiar with this was a big activation point for me. Everybody was running to get in the totality of this solar eclipse. We viewed it from the outside. We drank a heavy dose of ayahuasca, and I was inside of the divine code. And I thought, oh, I'm wrong about this divine code. This is a beautiful, wonderful thing. It was a beautiful crystalline substance. It was merging with my thoughts. It was merging with everything that I needed. And I thought, oh, wow, this is beautiful. And then my higher self or ancient soul pulled me out of the experience and said, hey, look at what's giving this divine code. And there I saw this giant octopus-like creature with one eye. It brought its tentacles out like this. It was sprinkling the divine code there, and everybody was bathing in it. And I was like, oh my God, what's going on here? So the chemical makeup of this refined life energy was the same as the energy these beings were harvesting. I'm unsure whether the solar eclipse was a system error that spread this divine code / light energy into our dimension, or if this was a planned event by the system for sinister purposes. I speculate that if the latter is true, then the purpose was to elevate the frequency of energy before the final harvest. And yes, I did say final harvest. As I moved away from the system, I was able to see different chambers / dimensions of this time space as small bubbles. So now I was moving backwards and I was seeing all the dimensions within my view as opposed to being inside of the dimensions, and I can see how they were all connected. I saw that a large dome-shaped object was placed over our dimension, almost like a tube vacuum kind of thing. And all of the energy transfer was quarantined with the tube leading straight upwards, bypassing all the other dimensions. And of course, I thought about the flat earth movement at that point, because back in 2016, around the same time, this all just kind of flooded the internet, and either there was a huge operation to, push this fake narrative, or people were noticing something had changed with our earth. And I wonder if perhaps this bubble that I saw was the dome that people have been pointing at, and their hypothesis is wrong, but something has indeed changed. Is it possible? I don't know, but it's something to speculate on for sure. As our dimension resides above our dimension, like directly above, there is like this octopus-like creature that we refer to as Yaldabaoth. May not necessarily be Yaldabaoth. I don't know. We're just going to call that because we're going to go by the Gnostic tales, etc., etc. I call it the virus within the system. I viewed the Earth system from afar, and the entire construct was deconstructing one piece at a time. So I was watching the whole Earth system in its space, and this Yaldabaoth creature was above, and pieces were being removed, one after another, after another, after another. As the Earth realm was being deconstructed, the space began to disappear until Yaldabaoth, who was sitting on top of the Earth construct, and he was moving things around like a puppet master or like an orchestra conductor, playing notes, until he pulled one more string and realized that there wasn't any more strings to pull because the construct was all being removed from underneath it and all around it, and it remained by itself right there in that construct. And it was just in a space of blackness. And I moved out a little bit more, and I saw the space of blackness, and I saw it caving in on itself and imploding upon itself, and boom, smashing this Yaldabaoth virus. The time space in the original, this time space, from what I gather, our time space is the original time space spawned by the ATEN. And because the infection laid within this one entire system, the entire system was compromised, because this is the original time space. This is the heart of the machine. All other time spaces were spawned from this time space, but this one was first. So having a virus in this particular system here could allow it to spread to every other system and completely screw everything up. So it was really vital to get the virus out of this particular system here. These events of the destruction of Yaldabaoth are yet to come, but there is a final harvest that I feel is drawing near, along with the destruction of Yaldabaoth. It appears that the ATEN is attempting to preserve whatever energy it can from this time-space before eliminating it. I viewed an ominous dimension, or perhaps, now that I say it out loud, I wonder if it was the same time-space that we're looking at now with the Earth after the Yaldabaoth destruction, but it was all black. It was nothing but blackness. And there were these slug humanoid beings with gray/pale skin, large slug-like tails, and spears. They had these fangs too, and as they were walking, they were leaving residue from their little slug, their slug tails. These beings were collecting the remaining souls from within our dimension, which appeared as faceless, grayish matter. They were all coming in like a meat rack, and these beings were just there grabbing them with a spear and then smashing their brains.
Ugh.
Grabbing them with their spear and smashing their brains. Grabbing them with their spear and smashing their brains.
That's bizarre.
This was symbolic, in my opinion, of total annihilation of the organic consciousness that exists within this time space. And it chilled me. It chilled me to the core. The soul catchers were operating on a frequency which we radiate from our life energy/light energy that we obtain during our lifetime. So as we take our life experiences and emotions, loves, and traumas, etc., with us when we die, these act as magnets for the soul catchers to draw us in. It's just natural. The soul catchers work to pull that frequency which we're carrying, because that's the frequency that it's harvesting. Once the soul gets to the soul catcher, it's then separated. The wheat is separated from the chaff, and then it's recycled all over again, etc., etc. Likewise, because of this virus, there are systems around this construct which detect the virus infection as well. And the virus infection, it cannot pass into any other system because of these antivirus protocols that are around. So now we have two very dangerous situations at hand here. Number one, we have the soul catchers, and number two, we have the antivirus programs or software that's around. And it's looking for anything that's virus infected or anything that contains life energy or light energy, energy from our own experiences. So when we die, we're going to go to one or the other, regardless, because we're either going to be carrying our life energy and go into the soul catchers, or we're going to be carrying the virus and we're going to go into the virus deletion. But anyway it goes, it's the annihilation of organic consciousness. But I realized that the key to navigating away from the soul catchers and bypassing the antivirus systems resides in our ancient souls. So I take this from my own personal experiences in the last 10 years of ayahuasca. I mean, I've been doing psychedelics about 25 years, but the last 10 years is when I really did the work. Through the ayahuasca experiences, I've been able to break down my traumas. I've been able to break down my ego. I've been able to achieve total states of ego loss within my experiences and go beyond. And beyond that, tapping into the raw consciousness/ancient soul and then navigating through my experiences and situations with that ancient soul. So on this last experience, I was so far into hyperspace. I did not remember Christia. I didn't remember anything about this realm. I didn't remember anything about what was going on, but I was operating from that ancient soul level, which allowed me full access to the machine. Complete and total access. Anywhere I wanted to go, any dimension I wanted, etc., etc. I was bypassing everything. I was bypassing soul catchers. I was bypassing antivirus programs. I was bypassing everything because I went in there without any overlays. And I've learned how to do this consistently now. So I realized that this is the key. And that first, what we have to do is recognize our ancient soul. We have to recognize the overlays. We have to be able to distinguish between the two. We have to be able to distinguish between the traumas and all the experiences here. And that goes for love and hate and fear at the same time. The things we love here sometimes bind us to this dimension, and we don't even realize that, but that's what those soul catchers are also grabbing. They're grabbing love, they're grabbing fear, they're grabbing every single emotion, everything like that only we, as organic consciousness, generate. That's why they're constantly moving things in one direction and another. It's fear, it's love, it's fear, it's love. The religion's all the same. Fear and love, God. That's what they say. Oh, fear, unconditionally, and love unconditionally when it comes to God. That's the state that they want people vibrating at so they can harvest as much energy as they can, because they're carrying more and more and more energy with them. So it is this data that I call the ancient soul level, for lack of a better word, that exists outside of the matrix itself. And it is this data that can lead us back to our real bodies, in my opinion, and wake us up. It's this data, this consciousness, that allows us to move freely through the system, rather than being pushed into one trap or another, which up to this point, you've had infinite lives to tap into your raw consciousness and to do it right. But I feel that this particular one is the last life. And if these visions are correct, that this is the way the Yaldabaoth virus is going to be destroyed from the system, to preserve the integrity of the entire system in and of itself, and, possibly all of the consciousness that's in the system too. In order to preserve that, well then, we're quarantined. And we've been quarantined. So I'm unsure if our souls exist within this time space because we're prisoners here. So if we were forcefully taken, put into pods, put into this machine in order to generate this, and we're constantly being, fed upon, or if we volunteered for some kind of community service type deal, like, hey, we'll go play this virtual reality game, at the same time we'll generate more energy, and so on and so forth, et cetera, et cetera. Maybe this is something we do in the real world. I really don't know. I don't know, but I know that the energy harvesting is chilling me. So I personally feel that I'm here by choice. I feel that I was here to fix something. I was here to create a portal for organic consciousness to escape, and into another time space, or maybe back into the real body too. I don't know. I know that going to Egypt was an ancient plan that took many lives in order to get to, and unlocking the pyramid and opening up that portal was to release the trapped souls that are here. I think that, there was a meeting at some point and said, hey, I'll go in. Don't worry about it. I'll go in with a team. We'll fix it from the inside. We'll help those that are trapped here. I don't know them. But I do know one thing for sure, that I'm apprehensive and I'm quite vexed about the symbolism of Akhenaten and the Aten. Those are the two, when I see them in Egypt, I say that's the enemy. I don't know why. I don't know too much about Egyptian history. I just know, remember when we were in Egypt, we went to the museum, I said, that's the bad guy.
Yep. Right
there.
Off the bat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He overthrew the balance in Egypt, and
I knew
everything went fucked up from there. So why am I seeing the symbolism of the Aten and the symbolism of Akhenaten in this, if this is benevolent or if this is anything but sinister?
Perhaps it is malevolent. Perhaps it is malevolent, and it's part of this soul harvesting process. And that's what it meant by the hands coming down from the Aten, as Akhenaten and Nefertiti were worshiping it, and they're offering up offerings to the Aten, and the Aten's got his hands coming down to grab.
Well, I suspect the sun.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm skeptical about saying this, or apprehensive about saying this, because it's speculation, and I want to be perfectly clear that it's speculation. But I suspect that the sun may be a portal in and also a portal out. Different from the soul catchers. Mm-hmm. It's an exit and an entrance. I don't know.
Didn't your mother used to tell you that Jesus lived?
That God is in the sun.
God is in the sun.
Yeah.
in the sun.
Yeah.
Not on the sun,
But
in
see,
the sun.
the soul catcher is this blazing white light as well.
Yeah, but it's
Different-
an artificial light.
It's artificial light, it is. It's a
Yeah.
white light. The sun is a yellow light.
Mhm.
So maybe that's a key right there. I don't know. I don't want to lead anybody down the wrong direction and then
Right.
get boom, wiped. I don't. That's why I'm real hesitant to say this, but I speculate that is in the sun, the portal.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
Yeah.
It just makes sense. Yeah.
So this gnosis still has more to reveal about itself, but I think the schematics of the system have been made crystal clear. I've often felt that this is our final life and our final chance to get it right, but I think we can do this. I think we can get out. P.S. The intention of this message was not to bring hopelessness. However, the information is what it is. It's the truth as I understand it. I wish there was a more happy ending to this, but it's up to you as to how this ends. So, that's it.
You should really
I don't
be.
know what we're going to do from here.
Somebody mentioned in the chat that you really should be a screenplay writer, because that was intense.
Well, it's funny because as I was moving through this experience, I kept thinking of different movies, like Transformers,
Mhm.
Dune, things like that. I wonder, and the triple goddesses, the three, and then you came back and you're like, hey, look, there's a depiction similar to this in Merlin. Now, they weren't
Nasir.
AI projections, but you have the seer in Merlin. I
Right.
wonder if people are tapping into this
Mhm.
and actually writing
Well,
films and things like
that goes back
or it's
to-
coming in dreams or something
That
like
goes back to the Middle Ages. They believed in the Nasir, the triple goddess, and they believed that it was this one being that was three women or three goddesses in one, and that they were kind of representatives of the magical world, and whatever they said it was like they were judges in a sense, and they would judge rulers and they would judge warriors and people like that based on how they treated people involved in magic, what they called the old religion, which paganism in a word to
Well, I
put
came
it.
back feeling like, okay, so I have to divest my consciousness of Christio.
Mhm.
I have to divest my consciousness. I've already done it of all past lives. I've held on to this identity, obviously, because I have to navigate as this identity here. I can't navigate as my ancient soul. You can't navigate as your ancient soul. They're freaking hang us from a freaking tree. They've done it before. They'll do it again.
Mhm.
So how do we navigate in this realm for the remainder of time that we have here, while at the same time divesting ourselves from who we are? Especially being personalities like this.
Right,
And
being
doing a radio show.
Chris and
Hi, I'm
Trujillo.
Chris Gio every freaking week.
Right.
How do I divest myself of Chris Gio? That's the question.
Mm-hmm.
How do we do that, ladies and gentlemen? How would you do that?
Right.
It's a question I would ask you.
Yep. Yes. We would love to get your feedback on this, because like he said, I don't know how I'm going to not be Cherie Gio. I don't know how to be who I really am all the time. In day-to-day life, my ancient soul isn't involved in cleaning out cat boxes or pouring drinks to drink in the morning. It doesn't. I don't know how to operate as that person, but
I know how to tap into it in
I know how to.
hyperspace,
Yeah, me too. But
but I don't know how to divest myself from it all the time.
right, exactly.
Anyways, so on that note, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick break and we will look for your questions. Tony Stark made a donation. Thank you, Tony, for the love.
Thank you, Tony.
Much appreciated. And yeah, we'll be right back in just a quick moment. With you.
My dear traveler, the purpose of raw consciousness is never to destroy. It is always to create. build bridges, create happiness, and bring forth new life. We must live in the hope that mankind will draw together, and that we better understand each other. The more that we awaken, the easier this will become. Now rise, follow your conductors, and fear no danger, as you step beyond the veil.
Let's jump back into it. Mrs. Gio, do you see any questions or comments in the chat room?
I have already written some down, actually.
Fantastic.
King Henny wants to know, was this off shrooms or Aya?
This was a combination of Molly and LSD.
Yeah, a high dose.
Yeah, high doses of Molly and
of
LSD,
each,
which
yeah.
was actually pretty interesting because I've done Molly and LSD many times before. It's been many years, but there was a progression. So what I realized is that all of my psychedelic experiences until I started doing Aya were basically meaningless. I mean, they put me in the other states, in the other realms, but I didn't know where I was going, what I was doing, or anything like that. Once I started working with Aya, then I started tearing down all the overlays. Then I started using other substances, and I realized that with the Molly and the LSD, there was so much clarity in this. It was unbelievably freaking clear. There was no emotion. See, Aya is very emotional, and Aya tears you down, and Aya does all of this, and, you know, you can go really deep with it. But this was like just putting on goggles and seeing perfectly clear, no emotion, no nothing like that. It was profound. I don't believe that I could have done it had I not been able to do it with Aya first. So just a caveat there. Yeah, it was, and it wasn't anything like I expected. I didn't expect to do all this. I mean, I thought we were going to lay down and, you know, have some fun and, you know, talk through the experience and all this, but no, this was straight up gone. And it was good because there wasn't any weird body feeling. As a matter of fact, the body was completely on the Molly state. So there was the teleportation element that we've talked about before. There was the fluidity of the LSD. There were the visions, but it was funny because everything was closed eyed, and I was gone. I wasn't in my body. I've never experienced that on anything but Aya before. So it was really interesting, and I think it just goes to show the progression of once you get to that certain place, then you can access that space again with ease.
Yep. Exactly. I'm looking for more questions while you're talking, so it's not like I'm just not listening.
Somebody said you two look broken. Not broken.
Not broken, no.
Sober.
Yeah, very sober.
It was a very, So it was a very sobering experience.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't expect to go in and come back out like this. This is nowhere in the mind whatsoever.
Yeah, when you do these substances, you're thinking that you're going to be elated and happy-go-lucky and everything, like I said at the beginning of the broadcast. But no, when you have this kind of experience, it's not elating or anything like that. It's very sobering.
You know, on the subject of DMT, I saw this energy being passed back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, from dimension to dimension. DMT comes from plants. Sometimes it comes from frogs. Mm-hmm. I think you can even get it from rabbit lungs by boiling rabbit lungs. It's everywhere. We produce DMT as well. Our bodies produce
small
DMT.
amounts of it.
Small amounts of
our
DMT.
Our meat suits make it.
When we leave and die, we have a DMT release. I wonder if it's that DMT that the soul catcher is removing. The light, all of that. If all of our experiences and everything like that are put into that DMT release and then that. So when we do DMT here in this realm, I wonder if we're if we're utilizing the same energy that's being harvested. So we're
Maybe.
able to tap into other realms like that. Because
Mm-hmm.
I've always thought, what is a psychedelic molecule? What is this, and why is it here? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, especially after the experience from Friday, because we had this conversation of, if this is really a soul harvesting machine, as this whole vision has portrayed, why would they put elements within this machine that can reveal the nature of reality like that? I mean, the veil is so thin. It's so thin. All you need to do is divest yourself from all your overlays. And it's a small substance, just a little bitty substance.
Mm-hmm.
And it tears the veil open. And you can see with clarity. Why does that exist?
Because most people, and this is what I said at the time, most people on this planet are not interested in having that experience, because in order to have that experience, you have to remove those overlays, which is also known as the ego, which is also, what gets torn to pieces first thing during a very heavy psychedelic experience, like with DMT or ayahuasca or mushrooms, high doses of mushrooms. When you have these experiences, it has to put that away. So knock off about 80 to 90% of the population right there. So really only 10% of the population are what they're worried about. And then out of those 10%, how many actually make it to the point of realization that this is all what it is?
What if it is the DMT? Okay, hear me out. So we take the DMT, right?
They're taking
That-
the DMT.
That grabs all of our life experiences, and we transfer our overlays from that to the molecule while we're doing it, which is why the molecule tears down your ego, because you're transferring those life experiences, you're transferring all that energy to it, and you do it enough times, and you do it so much with so much intention that you find yourself at your ancient soul level, because you've depleted your DMT, or not depleted your DMT, but let's say you have divested yourself of those experiences by putting them into the molecule, and the molecule is then dissolving into the ether, into all of that. So it's
okay.
a transfer.
Huh. Interesting.
It could be. I don't know. I'm just, again, I'm thinking out loud. I'm speculating.
Maybe it's our
but
own version of eating the light. That's what I called it. It's like they're eating the light, or they're harvesting the light to eat it, and that's kind of what we do with the DMT. It's we take that energy in, and not only does it dissolve those overlays, it also gives us a completely new, it feels like a completely new body, a completely new mind.
Yeah, because afterwards, you're glowing.
Oh yeah,
You're glowing.
You're
glowing in a
come
way
down.
to where people are just like drawn
to you. Like,
remember, we did ayahuasca for like 2 weeks, and then we went to the mall. And that girl was like, and she's like this really sweet hippie chick, and she's like, I just have to give you guys a hug. You have such good energy. Oh my God.
like bees to honey.
She gave this hug that was so energetically charged. I was like, I stepped back for a second because I wasn't expecting that. And she was just drawn to the energy. Maybe it's because we were at a state without the overlays. But after a certain period of time, you begin to get the overlay again and again and again and again and again. Then you do it again, remove the overlay or part of the overlay, et cetera, et cetera. And it's a process that continues like that.
Right.
Maybe the key is, at the point of death, separating yourself from that DMT release and moving in the other direction instead of moving towards the light.
Right. Moving towards the light. We've talked about that.
Moving towards the light is towards the soul catcher.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm
very much
You know
sure of
what's
that for
interesting, though?
myself.
The sun has turned from yellow to white. From yellow to white. The white is a soul catcher for sure. The sun is yellow. If the sun is a portal, the yellow light would be the one to go to. But I'm not saying to do that, because I don't know for a fact. But I wonder if that sun has also been changed as well.
I remember the sun being yellow growing up. And then, you draw a yellow sun. You don't draw a white sun. And now it's white. And it's been white for years and years and years. Since I became an adult, really.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Yes.
Comments? Who are these elephant people in your trip?
I was just about to ask that one.
David asked. First, I want to say thank you to King Henry for the donation. And
Thank you, King Henry.
thank you to Tothmark. So, yeah, thank you guys for the donations. Who are these elephant people? I don't know. I've never seen them before. They were similar to the Indian motifs. They resided in another dimension, and I didn't get the sense that they had the ability to move from one dimension or another. All the dimensions seem to be isolated from one another, and perhaps the consciousness, through the use of maybe that molecule, was able to transfer down to this dimension, briefly or whatever, experience a little thing and then go over there. Maybe that's what we do on DMT too. We are able to transfer the consciousness briefly because we're changing the frequency. We're always drawn back to the body, always drawn back to where we are.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think that they can physically manifest here, but it's possible that that's the depiction of the Hindus. However, what I feel that the depictions of the Hindu gods, the Egyptian gods, etc., are all psychedelic visions. Everything is psychedelic visions, in my humble opinion. The symbolism, etc. I remember going into the psychedelic experience first with the Aya, and seeing Egyptian and Mayan symbolism and things like that, and asking myself, do these symbols exist within hyperspace first, then they were brought here, or am I seeing these symbols because I'm familiar with them here, and then seeing them there? I still haven't answered that question, but it's something that I ponder.
Yes, me too, definitely. Let's see if there's any more questions. People are confused about who Thoth is versus Enki. I think it was the Vengeance of Diana said that Thoth was Enki. That's not.
I don't think so.
No, that's not even the case in the Sumerian tablets.
No, there's no. There's some speculation that Thoth is Enki's son.
Yeah.
But
well, Ning-Shazida was one of Enki's sons in Sumerian tablets, and that actually was Thoth. Supposedly. Supposedly that's supposed to be Thoth.
Other people are speculating that Thoth is Metatron. I feel, and again, this is just intuition, that Metatron is the Aten that we're talking about. Metatron is the brain. Metatron is an AI. No doubt about that. It creates the cube. It creates the flower of life. It creates the seed of life. It creates all of that. These are all digital projections of sacred geometry, which then manifest the realities in the world around us. I mean, that's why you study the universe and you see repeating computer code within the fabric of space-time. You see mathematics. You see numbers, because it's a digital system, in my humble opinion. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so too. No, that's off topic. I don't want to go into that.
What, the Lucifer one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Thoth is Mercury. He's also known as Mercury. And yeah, I looked it up, and apparently Ning-Shazida was a son of Arish-Kigal and Enki. So yeah, and
I don't know how much I give credence to the ancient texts.
Yeah.
I find words of wisdom in them.
Mm-hmm.
And pick out the words of wisdom.
Yeah, but don't
as a
rely
whole
on
text,
it.
Yeah. I mean, number one, they're so old. Number two, who knows where the originals are? Who knows what the original translations are? Number three, I've come to speculate and ponder if time-space in this dimension actually exists in linear sequence, in the sense that ancient Egypt existed within this time space, and then the Dark Ages, and then the 1800s, and then the 1900s, and so on and so forth. I think it's more of an isolated kind of looping kind of space, and artifacts and elements were placed to give the illusion of continuity of time, but there's really no continuity of time. It's like a video game where you have an artifact from 1,000 years ago and you're playing the video game. It doesn't mean that 1,000 years ago actually existed within that video game space, but that artifact exists just to make it seem like 1,000 years ago that artifact was there. So I think it's a holographic illusion. I could be wrong though, because I've gone back and forth on this. Before, I couldn't grasp the idea of time being anything but linear because it's a moving system. And so just like a clock on a wheel, or a wheel turning, it's going to make a certain number of rotations, and thus, the game continues to be played. However, now that I understand the ATEN and how it manifests different time spaces, I wonder if some of those time spaces actually are multiple. So we have a time space right now that is the 1800s, and perhaps it's possible to jump from this time space to the 1800 time space because it all exists within the ATEN. It all exists within the same space. So that's going on at the same time that this is going on. Maybe. I don't know.
Perhaps. Maybe. This is a good question. What about Hermes Trismegistus? Now, Hermes Trismegistus, I just want to interject with this because I've done a lot of research on this, and apparently Thoth even said in the Emerald Tablets that he would come back time and time again in human form. And that was Hermes Trismegistus, because that means Hermes the thrice born, which that was his third incarnation as a human being. And so when you're reading Hermes Trismegistus, you're really reading Thoth's words. It's just a different body and a different incarnation.
Yeah, I think so as well.
Angel
I think about my past lives, and I think perhaps maybe time is linear in this matrix because I remember a sequence of events that led me here.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember having to have lives before that were meaningless, some heathenistic, some that I can't believe that I lived. But it was like stepping stones to jump here right now. Like I had to live that in order to get here.
Right.
So maybe it's time spaces jumping back and forth. I don't know.
I don't either. That's kind of up in the air, along with a lot of things right now. Angel Satori had a good question. Can you elaborate on why you feel the light is bad?
The light.
The light is not bad. What's being done with the harvesting and all of that is what's bad.
Yeah.
So imagine any very intense emotion that you feel is actually being harvested by these beings. We've said this before about the archons, but we thought it was just archons. This is like way beyond archons in terms of its seriousness and in terms of the gravity of this. Not only are they feeding on people on an archonic, in real time level, they're also harvesting the light energy from that being. I guess, I don't think that's happening.
I called it light energy. It could be life energy.
Yeah, well, life energy.
It's not just positive emotions. It's
right.
negative emotions.
It's all the hate and anger and
all emotions. It's everything that we generate. See, we're generating an energy when we feel, when we love, when we hate, when we do all of that, and we should feel while we're here.
Experiencing emotions.
An experience.
Yeah.
But it's the connection to all of that they're harvesting. It's the frequency and energy that we're putting off when we do that, which is why the mainstream media, social media, so on and so forth, social media is like the biggest thing for them right now. Because they can put out some shit on social media and get people completely riled up that's completely and totally untrue. And that energy is being radiated, and it's overlaid and overlaid and overlaid and overlaid. So they're really shaking up, they're stirring up the pot.
That's exactly what that means, stirring up the pot. Exactly. You asked me a question, it was really profound. Whenever this all happened and we were coming back from this, you asked, why go through all the trouble of doing, like, having this whole system where people live lives? Why don't they just, harvest the energy when they're born, like in the Matrix, as soon as they're born, hook them up and harvest the energy? Why would they go through all the trouble of letting them live lives and stuff like that? And I said, because without the experiences of that person, where they felt those emotions, there is no life energy. When a baby's born, it actually has much less of that life energy than an 80-year-old on their deathbed, because that 80-year-old has had 80 years of experience and 80 years of love and hate and anger and, jealousy and, elation and happiness and all of that to feed this machine.
That's true.
So
I wonder if from the top level where the ATEN was created, it's a physical space where the ATEN was created. I wonder if we are on the microcosm of that plane of existence. And being on the microcosm, we're not actually seen as developing societies and living lives and doing this and doing that, but rather we're just seen as mere molecules. In the same way that if we look at a microscope, we see a microcosm world down there, but we manipulate different molecules and this and that, et cetera, with no regard to what's going on with the life forms there. So under a microscope, you can see little animals. You can see, all this life that's going on down there. What if they're just simply unable to see us?
Mm-hmm.
And they're just moving molecules around.
Right. Or they think that's what's going on. When I've actually thought of that since I was probably about 8 years old. I remember looking at ants and thinking, what if that's what we are? And we just don't, and we are seen at the level of the way that we see ants. Like, oh, okay, well, they're meaningless. If you kill a whole anthill, it's not a big deal because they're everywhere and they're so small that they're meaningless to this, to anything. But I think we carry a lot of meaning for them in the sense that we supply them with the fuel.
CERN.
Oh.
What if CERN is our ATEN?
Oh.
And we're doing the same thing to beings that live in our microcosm as is being done to us from our macrocosm.
Maybe.
As above, so below. Ooh, that's a chilling thought.
Really interesting because, on top of creating portals to other dimensions.
I don't know.
CERN.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how much I buy into creating portals to other dimensions.
Supposedly the guy that created it said something along those lines of it being capable of doing that.
It's supposed to be able to tap into another dimension, pull a molecule out, and bring it back here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Or pull a piece of matter or something like that.
Well, it's always 100 years ahead of what we think.
That's true.
Of what the public knows. So, hey, it might be.
And they're looking for the God particle, or they say that they found it or whatever. The God particle is supposedly something that can create matter. Mm-hmm. So by harnessing the God particle or being able to replicate it, you can basically just manifest things out of nothing because you have this particle and you can manifest whatever you want.
The God particle,
it's like a stem cell of reality.
The stem cell of reality. That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can create anything with it.
Yeah,
it's
you
the
take the right stem
philosopher's
cells
stone.
and shoot them into your shoulder, and it will create shoulder tissue.
Right. It's the philosopher's stone of physics.
Mm-hmm.
Creating whatever you want out of nothing. Virtually nothing.
What changed in 2012?
What changed in 2012?
Yeah.
We got married.
Aww.
But other than that, on the macrocosmic level, the only thing that really happened.
Well, there was an interesting thing that happened. So in 2012, I started noticing that some people didn't have a light in them.
I
some
remember
people
that.
did. And it was the first time that I really tapped into the idea of non-player characters and organic consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
But
they're crying.
Oh, they're crying? Are you going to go get them?
Yeah.
Sure, he's going to go get the babies. So I tapped into the idea of two different types of life forms within this matrix. It was speculated by the New Age community that some souls were removed and taken into another plane of existence, and what we were seeing was walking containers. But something definitely shifted in 2012. The sun started to turn white, or it had been turning white leading into that point, and it's almost as if our reality changed or our environment changed around us. Some people speculate that perhaps Nibiru did indeed come through and that we were evacuated and put into a virtual reality system, which I've speculated too. Perhaps some benevolent alien race or maybe some survivors from the future or something like that came back, pulled out some souls, put them in a virtual reality system and moved them into another plane of existence. And maybe we're being moved right now. I don't know. Something happened, though. What do you think happened is the question. How are the bibbies?
They're okay. They were looking for us.
Which one do you have?
I have Sekhmet.
You have the Sekhmet
And
kitty.
Bastet is loose around your feet right now.
Oh, can you bring her closer to the camera so people can see her?
Yeah.
Look how big she's gotten. Sekhmet has gotten big. When we first got her, she was about the size of a hand. Now she's getting big.
Yeah, she's going to be so big.
Bastet.
Yes, she is. She's so big. She's over here.
They were tearing down my wires earlier.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Should I have not let her loose?
No, it's
She
fine.
wanted to be loose.
Oh. Anything else, Mrs. Geo, that you've seen in the chat room? I want to say thank you to Call for the donation as well. Thank you, Call.
Thank you.
Definitely.
So much.
So, yeah, at this point, like I said, I don't know what the next move is. And I'm going to continue to explore hyperspace. I'm going to look for an exit. I mean, if I can view the system in this detailed schematic, I can navigate further away from the system and I can find the entry of where these souls are being inserted into the machine. And if that's the case, then we can find a path out.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the whole point of us being here right now is to do that.
The cats. Okay. So at the beginning of this experience, right?
Oh, yeah.
When I was being blasted into
and I saw
this realm,
too. I saw the exact same thing.
the kitties were sitting there with us on the bed. And I was laying down and I was really starting to fade. When I started to get deep into the experience, both kitties were sitting there and they started purring as loud as they could. And their eyes started to spin around like this. This thing came out of their head and they were moving their head around. They were moving this little antenna type thing. It almost had like a little bell on it or something like that. And they were like, and I was like, oh my God, you guys are energy conductors. And I was watching them and they were like, I mean, obviously this was happening in the realm. It wasn't happening in physical space. They were just sitting there. But what they were doing in the realm was creating energy. And I wonder if it's that energy that they were creating that helped propel me even further into the experience. And they are kind of like a conduit. What do you think? Oh, that's the Bastet
This
kitty.
is the Bastet kitty.
Yeah.
I had the exact same like vision. I looked at them and because they were so loud, they got really, really loud with their purring. And I looked down and they looked like they had three sides to a face on them. And it was like that face that's supposed to be Janus, Janus, the god Janus. A depiction of him can actually be found in the Never-Ending Story. You know that thing. Maybe it wasn't the Never-Ending Story. It was either the Never-Ending Story or one of those movies about one of those movies. That was like The Wizard of Oz. It was like a sequel to The Wizard of Oz. But yeah, it's a three-faced robot thingy with like a whirly thing at the top that was like an antenna that was going around and around really fast.
It's interesting that we both saw the exact same thing.
That was weird.
That's what kind of does it for me. Like, and they look like little kind of elf type things. And they were
It was almost like they were
like they charged up.
Yeah.
Like they charged up and they're like, all right, we're ready to do this. Let's go.
They were ready. They were there to help us.
It was adorable.
On our journey.
I wish we had. I wish I could. Again, I wish I could draw so I could like draw it out for you.
Yeah, me too. I can't draw.
And they were happy too.
Life,
they were thrilled. They were like, "Oh, we've been waiting to do this. We've been waiting."
Yeah. I really still believe that they were our temple kitties that we've brought back the spirits of, to help us in the next leg of our journey. You know, because they really helped on Friday. They really, really helped. We needed that extra push from them during the experience, I think. Or at least it helped greatly. She's getting on your mixer, isn't she?
Know.
I'm sorry.
They love the mixer.
Yeah.
All right.
Well,
so
anyway,
anything else?
I don't see anything that is a burning question.
Okay.
So.
She
did it.
She did it. All right.
Yeah.
She turned the music on. The music stopped, and she turned it on while we were like deep into hyperspace. They were just running around the room, and it hit the space bar on the music on the laptop.
And it turned the music off, and then she turned it back on. Yep.
I was like, oh, that's so cute.
It is. That was really cute. Last question. Sounds like some of the pictures in the Voynich manuscripts. Maybe got to look into it.
Voynich manuscripts.
The Voynich manuscripts. Yeah.
How do you spell that?
Voynich.
Okay.
Voynich manuscripts. Terence McKenna talked about the Voynich manuscripts quite a bit in his writings. And I don't know that much about it, unfortunately.
I don't either. I'm looking for any related pictures, but I don't see anything. But we'll have to look further.
We'll look into it, and we'll get back to you on that one. So, if we're still doing shows.
Yeah. I mean, we can address the Lucifer question real quick.
Okay.
Lucifer is, in my humble opinion, wisdom. And if you fear the wisdom, then you'll never find it.
Mm-hmm.
We don't gravitate towards that which we fear.
Right.
Yeah. And then I think he said something about Satan in the Bible, too. I don't give much credence to the Bible.
No,
That's
either.
the Holy Script. The Holy
The Holy
Scripture. That's
Script.
for NPCs. It's not...
Scripts are for NPCs.
Scripts are for NPCs. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Which includes ancient writings, too. I mean, that's why I don't give too much credence to ancient writings, but I'll pick out wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
So, Isaiah 5:20.
Mm-hmm.
Woe unto those who call good evil and evil good, who take light for darkness and darkness for light, bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. I love that phrase, but it's just a piece of wisdom that I picked up.
Right.
It's not, yeah.
It doesn't mean the whole thing is valid or the whole thing needs to be taken as fact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, so Lucifer's not an actual entity. I don't think it is. I think Lucifer is an energy.
It's an energy.
It's something inside of us. It's the wisdom inside of us.
Right.
And when we bring it out, then we tap into it. But what they've told us is fear the energy. Fear the energy that's inside of you. Fear it.
Fear yourself.
So you stay away from it.
Mm-hmm. Which it means you stay away from yourself. Mm-hmm. You stay away from the deepest parts of you. And you don't tap into that hidden potential that's inside of you.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. But if you read Revelation, though, there is the AI plan there.
Mm-hmm. It's all written out.
To bring a harvesting ship down. Mm-hmm. We covered this. And we covered some of Revelation. We need to go back and do the rest of the show.
Yeah.
But we had two parts, and we ended, I think, on the part where the AI ship comes down. They call it the New Jerusalem, and it harvests the souls, and that's it. Lights out.
Oh my God, we had to have this experience first and see what we saw on Friday in order to talk the rest of the way about Revelation, because we were looking at it slightly differently up until Friday.
Good point.
So that's why we haven't finished it, ladies and gentlemen. All things in good time. All things in good time.
People are talking about Aya Life in the chat room.
Yes.
We have a coupon code BTV for $10 off. So Aya Life, quick plug, is our CBD oil infused with the spirit of Aya. And you can get that at ayalife.com, AYAlife.com. We've been getting amazing reviews.
It's changed so many people's lives.
It has.
It really has.
It really has.
Including our own. You know.
I mean, yeah, I've talked about my personal journey.
30 pounds lost, 30 pounds gained.
Well, not just 30 pounds lost, but there was about 42 pounds of fat lost and about 16 pounds of muscle gain.
Right.
In the last 3 months. And all I did was just one thing, changed one thing in my daily routine, which was I started taking ILF religiously.
Mm-hmm.
After that, that gave me the energy to go work out, to go do this, to do that, etc.
To change your life all the rest of the way.
Yeah, and I feel great.
Yep.
And I still have more to go, but I feel great. And that was the one thing, that was a big apprehension before was, it's just vanity. It's just vanity.
Right.
Then I realized, no, it's not just vanity. It's about the way you feel, too.
Yes, exactly. That's the way your body is connected to your mind, and the way both of those are connected to your spirit as well. And your meat suit operating at the best it can be is not vanity. It's the only meat suit you have in this reality. And so you need to take good care of it.
Oracle Eyes is here.
Oh, Oracle Eyes.
Yeah, she got her shipment.
Yeah, she finally did.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good. Awesome.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
I think she's devastated because she missed the live show.
Oh.
You can watch the replay.
Yeah, you can watch the replay.
Lots of love, for sure.
We love you.
I sense my bloodline is from Enki. Interesting.
A lot of people do. I've noticed a lot of people that are in these circles have said kind of the same thing. You know, it's almost like a familiarity.
A familiarity. Cheers. Chad said, I heard Be Happy is an MAOI. I'm taking St. John's wort, and I've heard the two can have bad interactions. They can.
Yeah.
The Be Happy in the ILF is so small.
Minuscule.
It's a microdose.
Yeah.
It doesn't have an MAOI effect. Mm-mm. And so far, we have not heard of any interactions with it.
Not a single one.
What it does is it gives a boost to the CBD and makes the CBD work like you've never seen it before.
Right.
I mean, people have written us and said, I just bought it because I wanted to support you guys, but I've tried so many different CBDs, and they've never worked for me. But oh my God, ILF works so freaking great. I've never seen anything like this before. So
we've only had one complaint, and that it was too strong. If that tells you anything. So
that was kind of funny. That was kind of funny.
Yeah.
It's like it's just too strong for me. Can I return it? I'm like, well, take less.
And have you tried taking a little less?
Anyways, BTV is the discount code. Yes.
Yeah.
What exactly is all of this? What is this that stands before me?
What are you singing?
It's a Black Sabbath song.
Oh.
That's real old school, people. I realized, ladies and gentlemen, that when I reference the 90s, that's like people from when I was in the 90s referencing the 70s now. It's been that long.
So you need to not be an old man.
So, ixnay on the 90s, eh?
An 90s nay.
Yeah. One of the waitresses, I told you about this, didn't I?
Yeah.
Yeah. She asked me for some advice, and I said, well, in my time, this is what I've done, and I've done this, and then I built myself up doing this, et cetera, et cetera. So I really appreciate getting advice from the older generation. And I was like, I'm the older generation now? Oh, my God.
Burn.
I got freaking arthritis in my knee. I went and got an MRI because I jacked my knee up doing deadlifts, and I wasn't sure if I should continue, and they cleared me to do whatever I want. But they said you have some arthritis in your knee, and you have, a little bit of
tearing,
and but it's not the ACL, and you have tendinitis, where the tendinitis,
yeah,
where the tendon is a little bit swollen or inflamed,
yeah.
And she's like, you have arthritis. I'm like, I am not old enough to have arthritis. And she's like, yes, you are.
Yes, you are.
I'm like, no, I don't feel like that. No.
People are saying deadlifts are going to kill your knees.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know. I don't need to do those.
San Antonio Mom has a good question. How long before you notice a difference? And I'm assuming she's talking about the ILF. Some people have said they notice. Actually, it's a 50-50. Some people, they take about 2 to 3 weeks before they start really feeling the effects, while other people notice a difference after the first dose. And it's really 50-50. With me, it took a little bit longer, but I think that's just because I needed it more, and so it took a while for my levels of cannabinoids in my body to reach a certain point. and then I got all of the benefits from it. And then it was about 3 months into it that I really, really started noticing a difference in my appetite and in my energy level. And then I started really gaining weight. I was about 80 pounds when we were in Egypt, and I'm 115 pounds now. And so, and the only thing I've changed is that I've changed significantly is the eye of life. And so that's the only thing I can, credit it with. So yeah. Let's see. Don't drink it straight from the bottle. Yes. Somebody said don't drink it straight from the bottle. No, you don't want to drink it straight from the bottle. We have provided a 1 milliliter dropper with it, and it's metered so you can see how much you're taking. And some people, they do really well with a half a dropper, twice a day, while the dose that we recommend is 1 milliliter, 1 dropper full, once or twice a day. And Chris really didn't see a whole lot of effects though until he moved up to 3 dropperfuls twice a day, I think it is, right?
Well, no, it was just that one time when I jacked up my knee.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
I took the 3 dropperfuls on Friday, and then I took another 3 dropperfuls on Saturday, and then Monday my knee was fine.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's your usual dose though?
I just take 2 a day. One in the morning, one at night.
1 dropper full twice a day.
Yeah.
With me, it's a half a dropper full twice a day, and I'm steady at that dose. When I first started, I was doing twice that much, as much as Chris is doing, and now I've reached this point where it doesn't even take that much to get the same anti-inflammatory effect and the same other effects too. So, anyway, does he ever call her Aya wife? Aww.
That's a good one.
That's a good one. Yeah,
I don't.
I like
call
that.
her Grumpy Twin.
Grumpy Twin.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Grumpy Twin, Grumpy Twin.
Why are they waking you? It's not your fault.
420 Yoga. Great question. Do you think the animals, cats, are in the realm, have access to the realm, or are 1 foot in, 1 foot out? Absolutely.
I think that they're more than what they seem to be.
Mm-hmm.
Because when they started doing their spinning thing, it was like they knew.
They knew
it was
what was
time
going
for them
on.
to start doing their spinning thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like they were made for it. Like they were sent here particularly to do their spinning thing when it's time to do their spinning thing.
I'm going to do my spinning thing.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
They're amazing. They're somebody said cats aren't NPCs, and I just don't. I can't see that. I can't see why an organic consciousness would take less than human form. It doesn't make sense to me. What I feel that they are they're part of the machine, but they're programmable consciousness, and we can imprint ourselves upon them, which is why they seem to be organic.
Yeah.
They seem to have some kind of, essence to them because they have our essence. They become part of us and we become part of them. And they're little, little spinning things that can do that.
They're little spinning things.
Yeah. They're like little devices.
Yeah.
But they feel.
They feel.
And they because they are us. If you're a bad person, you have a bad cat.
Yeah.
And you imprint
I've noticed
negative
that.
upon them.
Yeah.
And our bad kitties are messing with the wires now.
Yeah. They're just curious. They're just curious little kitties.
She wants to come up. Pick me up. Pick me up.
Pick me up. Pick me up.
Mwah.
Aw.
All right. So anything else?
Yep. I think we're done. I think that's it
All right.
for this evening. So
I don't know where we're going to go from here. So be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel for further updates.
yes.
And Chris, did you have a breakthrough experience on mushrooms? And if you did, what's the difference between DMT breakthrough? I don't have too much experience with mushrooms.
Yeah, me either.
Yeah, I'm sure that if I did it now, it would, and that's next on the agenda.
Yeah,
we've got a lot of stuff to work with.
Yeah.
But yeah, one of the things that I got tired of with the Aya is all the preparation.
Yes.
Preparing the brew, drinking the brew, feeling the acidic stuff in your stomach, the purging, you know,
Yep.
all of that. After a certain point, you're like, all right, I know where I'm going.
Yeah.
I know what I need. I just need a conduit to get there. And
Right.
then you can, you know, blast off with
You can
different-
use whatever
different
you
ways.
want to. Yeah, whatever you want to use
Yeah.
at that point. Once you get really experienced with the Aya, and the only thing left to it that is a nuisance is the preparation aspect of it, then you can move on to other substances in lieu of that. But I think a lot of people can't even get to the part where they, you know, don't mind their ego getting just utterly smashed and destroyed. Whereas we've become comfortable with it.
True.
Okay, they're biting the wires now.
They're biting the wires and they're on the mixer. So, on that note, ladies and gentlemen, kiss the one you love right now. You never know the last time is going to be. And Oracle Eyes, we will send you an email here
Yes.
shortly. And
we will
see you even further.
beyond the veil.